Welcome to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. These guys are brave! They're Hawkeyes, living in enemy territory. Listen, these guys are way past their prime, but they're still Hawkeyes! They're spreading the Hawkeye hype to all of Nebraska. The frost advisory is canceled! Cornhuskers? More like corn suckers. Are you ready for this podcast? Let's go Hawks!
All right, welcome back to Nebraska Hawk's Nest. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Get all the updates for all of our latest videos, interviews, everything we have on all of our social media platforms, all Hawkeye related. Today, we have former Iowa wide receiver Trey Stross. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Adam? Happy to be here, man. How are things out in Nebraska?
Well, it's Nebraska, so I mean it can only be so good. But it's not too bad. Honestly, Nebraska's a pretty good state to live in. So it's just don't really care for the Cornhuskers too much. Very, very anti that. But living here is not too bad. It's a pretty good state to live. It's no Iowa, but I definitely like it. Okay.
Sure.
Where are you at right now?
I live down here in Austin, Texas, man. I come across some ex-players. I run into like Vince Young, and I tell them I play for Iowa, and I think everybody down here thinks Iowa is Iowa State. So
what? Because of the Big 12?
Yeah, it gets quite annoying, but I'll correct them.
That's the ultimate offensive thing that anybody could ever say. It's like, no, I didn't go to Ames Community College. I went to the University of Iowa from the Big Ten, the big boys school in Iowa.
Absolutely, man.
And never mind that I butchered the name of your spelling of your last name up there. I noticed that as soon as I went on, like, hey, we're gonna have to get that fixed before we publish this.
No, you're good. There's like a funny story. So just throughout my time at Iowa, a lot of different announcers, they would butcher my name. They would be like, Terry Stross and any Trey Stross, like stuff like that. So I was brought to my attention when I was in college that this Terry Stross thing was going on. So I just kind of owned it. But no, it looks like you got my name right.
Is it right on okay, because I see on yours you spelled it Strauss or something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean that's kind of the pen name, I guess, that was going around from the announcers after during games and everything. So okay, I just owned it. And Adam, man, just we were supposed to do this interview an hour and a half ago. You left me by myself drinking, so whatever you get, this is on you, man.
It's all good. I'll take full responsibility for you having a good time any day of the week. So what's the beverage of choice tonight?
So the wife and I we're moving out of Texas here in about a month. So just kind of having my cervezas. So I think Modelo's my call of drink tonight.
All right. I'm a cerveza guy too. I've really the more beer I drink, the more I realize that when it comes to beer, I am a Mexican on the inside. That's what I tend to always gravitate towards. Like Dos Equis and Corona are my two favorites.
Yeah, the Modelo's, the Presidente. I mean, there's some good. Ever since I moved down to Texas, man, opened my eyes.
Yeah, they make a damn good beer. I'm in full agreement with you on that. And I have a couple buddies of mine that are like, Corona's skunky. Like, how do you drink that? And I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I never drink Corona without a lime, so it's never skunky to me at all. But Dos Equis is good stuff too. I'd have that any day of the week. And you can't beat a legitimate, really good tequila. That's as good as it gets. So I'm a big baby. I suck at taking shots or anything like that. But if it's a really good tequila, I can go. But that's the one thing you drink. You talk to anybody, they're like, if I drink too much tequila, I do weird stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
That was me. Like, that was me. If I had too much tequila, that's when I would do like very uncharacteristic things that I normally wouldn't do.
Oh.
But
I've been there before, man.
yeah, I think we all have. So you said you're down in Austin right now. Tell me about what's going on with you professionally, what you're doing for work, what you're going to be doing for work when you move out to Orange County, and how the wife is doing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, starting out with the wife first. Yeah, newlyweds. We got married, back in August. So, during a pandemic, probably wasn't ideal, but, some of the feedback we got from some of our friends were just like, dude, we needed that. That was kind of our little break.
Cool.
We did the social distancing, so we were being responsible and everything. But I did see on one of your interviews, I think it was with Marvin McNutt, of like the hottest wives or something. So I want to throw some pictures. I want to throw some pictures in the hat for next year.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to catch some votes on that thing.
Right. We haven't seen her yet. I've never seen her, so I don't know. We can't comment. She officially pulled in this last round of, she was the number one. She won, but I don't think we've seen Trey's wife yet. So if you ever want to slide some pictures out so we could see it, where did you meet your wife?
So I met her in Austin. I was just kind of out with some coworkers. We met up with one of my coworkers, her boyfriend at the time, and after a few drinks, her name's Kim. She's just like, hey, wouldn't Trey be perfect for Amanda? And this guy's like the COO of this like tech company, and he's just like, all right, let me hit her up. And he called her, put on a speakerphone. She was not interested. He's like, he's a football player, probably wide receiver. And she's like, that's not my type. So, I got shut down pretty early on. But he was her boss. So I think he like made her go on a double date with us. And then, it was history from there.
I should have learned this early on. I'm a quitter. Like, if a girl ever told me that she wasn't interested, I'm like, screw you then, forget it. Like, if you're not interested, I'm out. But it's like the guys that like all the really great dudes are like, no, you do like me. You're just not willing to admit it yet. You haven't figured it out. And I'm like, why didn't I figure that out? Like, I just was like, every time you go for a top shelfer, they're like, no, I'm not interested. And then Marvin talked about that too. Any really great, very attractive girl, the first 1 to 2, 3, maybe even 4 times you talk to her, they're like, nah, not interested. Yeah. And then finally, then you break through.
Yeah. The quote I told her, I asked her out. I asked her to be my girlfriend, like on the second or third date. And she still gives me crap about that, but I just tell her like, persistence beats resistance. So yeah, it's like some of the sales stuff I learned or what, but yeah, it worked out. She took 3 months to come around and finally said that she'd be my girlfriend. And I got engaged within a year and married. And actually, man, life's good, man. We just we found out a few weeks ago that we're Amanda's pregnant, and we went to the doctor today. Got to listen to the little one's heartbeat. So all's good, nice. Man. Life is good.
That is fantastic. You got a future Iowa wide receiver in the making. That's good news.
Hopefully an Iowa baseball player. Keep away from a lot of the injuries.
Yeah, that's true. It seems like those baseball guys get hurt though too, but it's not, it's nothing like head related. It's always like pulling a hammy or something like that, or tearing ACL, something you can bounce back from. Nothing like that. But congratulations, that's freaking huge news, man. Like, are you hoping for a boy or a girl, or like, are you just you don't care?
Yeah, I think every guy wants like a boy to have somebody to throw the baseball around with, football and so on. But I'll just happy for a healthy baby.
Yeah. And I just need to tell you, from somebody that has boys and girls, I really don't. You can't underestimate how much fun a daughter can be. I never knew that. I would like, who's cracking a new one? You hear that noise? Sound like a beer commercial over there, man. Making me thirsty.
Hey man, don't worry about it.
Hey, I'm not worried about it at all. Nothing wrong with that at all. Absolutely not. I had a couple cruise lights.
I like that, but yeah, we're in the process of moving. So I took a half week this week at work. So I'm just gonna enjoy tonight a little bit, do some packing. But
good.
You said you're gonna have a drink. Am I drinking alone on this or?
Well, I had a Coors Light over here, and then when I got started, I left it over on the counter. So I'm like, I'd have to run and go get it real quick. But I was going to tell you, don't underestimate, having a daughter too, because I never thought I'd like softball and volleyball as much as I do. That's actually a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoy watching that. It's pretty entertaining. I really like working with her in softball and stuff like that too. So it's
Adam, that's actually a good point, man. Like, a few of Chris Rao, Raphael Eubanks, like we used to drive our mopeds down to the Iowa softball games, and they're a lot more fun than the baseball games. Like they're fast paced, shorter games. Like it's quick, man. It's a quick sport. Same with the volleyball. A few of Tony Miyake was dating somebody on the volleyball team, so we went to a few of those games. It's high pace. Mm-hmm. It's fun to watch.
Those are two sports that I feel like are more entertaining than the male version. Like if you watch men's volleyball, it's unwatchable. It's unwatchable. It's just like set spike, it's done. And like women's, there's like volleys, and it's actually entertaining to watch. And then with softball, I always say it's like the arena league version of baseball. It's a smaller field. It's more fast paced. It's fun, man. I enjoy watching it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And that's the thing. It's like with baseball, I feel like it's like the guy's strategy to try to elongate the game. Whereas girls are like, let's just get in and out and do some drag bunts and just get around the base. So it's a good time.
It's an underhyped sport that needs to get out there. I'm like a chronic, like, I'm on the Big Ten's case, the Big Ten Network's case constantly. Like I'm a Big Ten Network troll. And so I'm always like, hey guys, come on, more wrestling. We need to have a little bit more wrestling. We got the top wrestling program in the country and you guys don't even have it on TV. Like you have all this, like all these games that you just replay and replay and replay. Like, wow, how about some original content? And I think a lot of people believed that too. So they finally really came through in the last year or two and have had wrestling. And now they're starting to step up baseball a little bit. So it'd be nice if over the summer, we don't have as much to watch as the people that are mostly college sports fans. I would like to see some more Iowa baseball and Iowa softball and things like that. So Big Ten Network, if you're listening, step it up. I'm watching you.
Awesome.
Trey, wanted to talk about your recruiting process out of high school. What schools were you thinking about? I always watch recruiting, and I remember when you're coming out, I want to say Boston College was real hot on your trail. And that's a prestigious academic institution, and Boston's a really cool city. That must have been a pretty hard place to say no to. What other places were really after you?
Yeah, I mean, so coming from Northeast Ohio, I mean, you're exposed to a lot of different universities, from, all the MAC schools to, the University of Pitt, that was only 2 hours away, Penn State, 4 hours away, Cincinnati, West Virginia was a big pipeline. And I guess to cut a long story short, so I originally committed to Maryland. If you look at the receiving corps at Iowa, it was quite unique, where you had, Marvin, he was a former quarterback. You had Darrell, that was a former quarterback, Paul Cheney, a quarterback. And, I played a little quarterback in high school myself, but I was mainly, I played receiver, but, I was also in a high school that we ran the ball. We had a rusher that, he rushed for 3,300 yards in his senior year. So I was mainly known for like the defense, being a safety. So I originally verbally committed to Maryland, and I actually committed before I even went. And then I went to go visit the school, and it was not for me. Like the vibes weren't there. You could just tell that it was more of a basketball school than a football school. And like deep down in your heart, when you grow up in Ohio, you're going to a Big Ten school. My family grew up Penn State fans, but I have a story for that. But you're just going to end up in the Big Ten, and my heart wasn't into Maryland. And my next trip that I went out to was to Iowa, and it just blew me away. I mean, you don't know a whole lot about Iowa. At the time, I think we only had Bradley Fletcher, and I think the next class was like me, BJ Travers, Chris Rowell. Like we were the first like Ohio flight to Iowa that kind of opened the door for other recruits like the Stanzies and Derek Smiths and LeBrons and Darrells and so on. But yeah, man, I think I panicked. I went to Maryland. I'm like, dude, this is not a football a school or a program. So I had visits to, like you said, Boston College, Penn State, Iowa, Tennessee, and UConn. I think UConn was big back then. They used to go to like my track meets and try to sell me hard. But at the end of the day, I mean, Iowa, they're 3-time eighth in the nation, 2-time Big Ten champs. Ed Hinkle was like one of my idols when I was in high school. So it was kind of a no-brainer once Coach O'Keefe came ringing.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about Maryland, because we went out. We tried to go to every Big Ten stadium and try to hit them all. And we went out the first time we played Maryland, and you weren't kidding. That is like the opposite of what a Big Ten school you would think it would be. It's very urban, and it was like constant police sirens all the time when we were there. And when we went out to the bars the night before the game, the night after, nobody even knew like who the Hawkeyes were. They kept pointing at our shirts like, what team is that? And they're just, all they cared about was basketball. And, you're hopefully, that's a mistake on our part too. I mean, I should have given them more time to get Big Ten seasoned before we went out there, but that was probably one of the most terrible trips we'd gone on. Like we're in the stands and like the Maryland fans were yelling at us, calling us hicks, telling us to go back to the farm, like all kinds of like, they were rough, man. Like, I mean, the East Coast people are a little bit harder, that's just how it is. And anybody that goes from the Midwest out to the East Coast, it's a little different, people faster pace, and they're a little quicker on the trigger with a lot of things. But we had the same feeling as you did. Not to bag on Maryland, but we were not real impressed with the place as a whole, kind of like you.
Yeah, they were just, I mean, like, I was heavily recruited to be a safety. And, when, what got me on the hook was like, I wanted to play receiver. Like, I'm a 17-year-old. I think, receivers, they get the spotlight, all this stuff. So Maryland are like, yeah, we want you to play receiver. And I get on campus for my official visit, and they're like, we really want you to play safety. We're also thinking about you as a punter. I was like, what the heck? Like, they just seem kind of all over the place. And then, we walked around the campus. We went to like the local mall just to kind of walk around and kill time. It's a 2-day thing. And then there's like 2-inch, thick glass everywhere, like bulletproof glass. I'm like, and I don't want to be here. So I dipped out as fast as I could.
Yeah, and again, I feel like I'm bagging on Maryland. No offense to any Terrapin fans out there, but those are the most god awful, ugly uniforms in college football. I can't stand those things. With it's a cool flag and logo and stuff like that, but it's a little over the top, completely wrapped around the whole helmet and everything on there. It just doesn't feel like much of a Big Ten feel to it. It almost looks like an Arena League football team out there playing like flashy.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, man, that was kind of my path to Iowa. And then once I saw the campus, I actually met some fans just out and about. And, I had Ed Hinkle as my host.
Nice.
And it's just, I ended up just canceling all the rest of my visits. And, I was there with Shonn Lee, who was heavily considering Iowa and Penn State. And I was trying to sell him hard on Iowa. At that time we had like, 5 or 6 All-Americans commit to Iowa. So I was really trying to get Shonn Lee to come there. But then, I guess, with family reasons, he stayed at Penn State. But yeah, man, it was a fun experience getting recruited. It was kind of short-lived for me. I committed to Iowa beginning of my senior year. But yeah, I mean, there was no better place to go.
No, we're definitely glad that you did. One of the best receivers in Iowa history, especially during that time. You definitely got us out of a lot of jams in a lot of situations. And you always seemed to be that one guy that we could count on in a tough spot that we could go to, and you'd always come through every single time. You were there during a really interesting time in Iowa football when there really hasn't been too many quarterback controversies, really. And you were there in the midst of the Jake Christensen, Ricky Stanzi one. What was the feeling like in the locker room and on the team when that was going on? Were guys really ever talking about that? And were the guys on the team leaning one way or the other?
No, I mean, it was really tough, to be honest. Jake was one of my roommates freshman year. He was one of the guys that I went to camp with at Iowa, and he really sold Iowa, even though I was already sold. But he was a big advocate. His dad was the biggest advocate for Iowa. So I can't really say anything bad about Jake. I do have a funny story about that, and I feel like I got set up by the media. But but we had Rick, and Rick, he just improved week over week, year over year. And then we also had a guy named Arvell Nelson who came from Cleveland, Glenville, and he was a stud athlete. So we just knew that there was going to be like competition. It's going to be like a game day decision. So I felt like we felt confident that either way we went, we would be good. Good with. And, Jake had a lot of moxie, which, we always say is, Rick's quality, but, Iowa, we recruit the right people. And although Jake, went and saw after another school, which, I don't blame him because, you only have you have a certain time frame that you could play that, hey man, you got to do what you got to do, enjoy this life type of thing. But dude, I think I got set up by the media one time because I love Jake, and when you're in the locker room, like you sometimes just talk crap to each other, it's just guy like banner stuff. And I remember it was like Tuesday, we had media day, and I rode up my moped, got off, and then, they started talking about the Northwestern game. And they're like, hey, Jake said he's going to come. And like, they said something around the lines of like, he was saying bad things about Iowa. And I was like, man, screw Jake. So then like Jake started like texting, he didn't text me, he was texting other guys. He's like, what's wrong with Trey, blah, blah, blah. And I just felt like I got set up because I didn't really like screw Jake. I just like, hey, like I think he's talking crap about the program. Him and I will hash this out after practice. I'm focusing on other stuff, but I feel like it was a setup.
That's not cool to do anything like that, especially to a college kid. Like, come on. That's why they have to train those guys in media relations, because of things like that, setting you guys up. But, even Ricky, when we talked to him, said like Jake was a great dude and he keeps in contact with him. And, everyone that's interacted with him, I felt like Jake kind of got I don't know if he got misquoted or anything too, but when he left, media is always trying to pull things out of you and get something to write about. And, who knows what the context was, but he said something about like, Iowa didn't do a very good job at developing me or developing quarterbacks. And so then immediately fans are like, oh, he's bitter. He's a bad dude. And then, circling back and, years later, he's like, it's not really what I meant. I'd really, root for Iowa, watch Iowa. And, I want to see my old teammates do well and be successful. So it's one of those things that, whenever you read anything about anybody, no matter what it is, you got to kind of hold your judgment and wait and see what the whole story is, because I think guys were, a lot of fans were a little too quick on the trigger to, want to say that Jake wasn't a good dude, but he actually was. You lose on a quarterback competition. Yeah, you're a competitor. You're going to be a little pissed off. If he wasn't pissed, there'd be something wrong with him. Yeah, and you can't blame him for going to another school. He wants to play the game. I totally get that. So you can't blame him for that one bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, when the time came that they did decide to go with Rick, like I think there may have been a sentiment on the team like, oh shoot, like what's going to happen? And Jake, I mean, first class, man. He was there. He was like the, Coach B. Like he was like the second coach on the field, really helping Rick. Very selfless player. So, I mean, he was awesome to have. Awesome roommate, awesome teammate. And, I was happy he was able to go somewhere and do big things.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it sounds like he's working with quarterbacks right now too, in his professional career. And, Ricky said that they talk almost every other week still about different things and work together. So that's pretty awesome. That's just, really a testament to what type of guy both of them are and keeping a relationship like that. So that's very cool. We also wanted to talk to you about the insane Shonn Greene season where he just lit the world on fire and was running all over the field. I want to know during his Doak Walker speech why he didn't thank Trey Stross for all that down the field blocking that he got for all those big runs.
I know. Well, that's the thing, man. Like, I took great pride in my my blocking. Coach Campbell, he used to goal us on getting 3 knockdowns a game. So like what that means is like be on their back or like what's a proper term, but basically cutting their knees and getting them on the ground type of thing. And man, I would try to exceed like 200%. Like I took a lot of pride in that, but I wasn't the only one. Like Andy Brudell, man, he was always up there. Jarrell threw in some blocks. Colin Sandeman was little guy, but little leverage. Like he was able to get people out of the way. So I think as a receiving core in general, Keenan Davis, I mean, that dude was a monster. He just threw people like out of the sideline. Like we took pride in that. So, I mean, hey, we maybe not got all the props that we could have gotten, but I know that a lot of it went to offensive line, which is well deserved. But yeah, the receivers, man, we were out there grinding.
What kind of guy is Shonn? Because he had one hell of a run there at Iowa, and had a pretty strong pro career there too. But haven't really heard much from him since he stepped out of the limelight. Do you ever keep in touch with him? Were you guys very close when you played together?
Yeah, I mean, so during like freshman year, we came in freshman year together. So we used to hang out. I mean, him and I were both kind of quiet. Like, if you ever watch any of my interviews when I was in Iowa, I mean, dude, I didn't know what to say. Like people are like, hey, you caught this, touchdown pass. What happened? I was like, I don't know. I ran a route. They threw it. I caught it. And that's like Shonn. Like he's a very humble dude, very quiet. Him and I, we stay in touch, but it's more of like, just like, what's up, man, or, liking posts and stuff like that, like giving the 100% stuff like that. That's about it. But that's all you have to expect from Shonn. Like, he's a very humble dude. Like, he's not going to, go out of his way to become like a news anchor or anything like that. He's just going to live his life and be to himself.
Yeah. Well, he's one of those guys that, hopefully this year with, Tyler Goodson, that I feel like, we got one of those backs right now that could have a Shonn Greene type season. So that was a lot of fun that year, watching him run all over people. And I just wish he would have stuck around for that 09 team just to see what that team could have done. Because that would have been national title implications if he would have came back for another year. But you got millions of dollars sitting on the table. That's a hard thing to walk away from. So,
for sure.
You set your family up for the rest of their life. I totally understand that. In 2008, I want you to think back here to the Penn State game. I was there. It's a cold, dreary night, a little misty outside, and we were getting ready to take down, I believe it was were they number 3?
Number 3, yeah.
Number 3, Penn State. Tell us about that last second drive and that field goal, and walk us through that game a little bit, what it took to beat those guys, because they were on a roll. I believe they were 9-0 when they came into Iowa City.
Yeah, they caught us at a bad time. Like, we that was the year that Rick stepped in halfway through the year. So Rick had his learning curve. So once Rick started, I think that we may have lost a game or two, very close, but close losses that, we were on a roll. Like, we were already prepping for the 2009 season. So they caught us at like some strengths. We were firing all cylinders. And even though it was a close game and we hit that field goal, I feel like we controlled that game a lot. Darrell had a huge catch. Myself, we did a similar play. I caught a ball, took up the sideline, and man, it was a shoelace tackle. If I would have just scooted on that, we could have scored there. Like, felt like we were in control. We had a lot of confidence going in that game. And it was kind of our statement game to catapult us for the next season.
Yeah, it was an awesome game, and it was such a great ending. And it was pretty cold. I know the lady in front of me, somebody accidentally dumped hot chocolate all over her and her coat. So that I'll neither confirm nor deny that that was partly my fault. But, we got a little wild after that. That was a lot of fun, and it was such a great feeling to be able to knock them off. Joe Paterno never really had much luck against us. We always did very, very well against him. Mm-hmm. I want to move it into the 2009 season. Such a great year. And I'm going to be honest, I was really surprised the way that the year developed, because that first game of the year against UNI was a struggle. And we blocked 2 field goals at the end of the game to win that. And, I went nuts and went, crazy. But I'm like, and if we have trouble beating, of course, as a fan, you're like, if we have trouble beating UNI, this is going to be a long year. What was the struggle in that game, and why was it so tough to put those guys away?
I don't know. I wish I had the answer. Maybe I can ask you that question. From my experience, it's like interesting about my career, not to make about myself, but I never really got a chance to fully play in the first 4 games of every single year I was there, except for Iowa. My senior year, I got to play in the first 4 games, due to injury and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But my vibe was just Iowa, we have great preparation. We have great camps. We always get better as the season goes. So going into UNI, just talent alone, we should be able to handle this team pretty well. But it's just it seems like an Iowa thing that we just kind of start off slow every single season. And then by the time you catch us week 5, 6, 7, 8, we're just as good as any team in the country.
Yeah.
Most years. So I feel like, we got caught like that. It's hardly ever that, an Iowa team would underestimate an opponent. So I don't think it was that. I think it's just, I don't know, feeling the offense, feeling the talents, feeling who the ball goes to, things like that. But I still scratch my head on that, not to, take away from UNI, they were national championships, runner-ups or something like that. They're a very, very good program, really good athletes. But I think that put a reality check on a lot of us. And I think that kind of helped us turn things around very quickly in the beginning of the season.
What do you feel is the biggest reason that we always have a slow start to the year? We don't really come out firing on all cylinders. We get some backlash sometimes from people like Colin Cowherd and stuff like that. They're like, hey, they're not scheduling those big time games early in the season. Well, I don't want us to do that right now because like it's just we're not ready for that at the beginning of the year. Like now at the end of the season at a bowl game, absolutely. But what being a part of the program and playing there for the years that you did, if you could put your finger on one or two things, what is the reason why we come out those first 2 to 3 games every year and just really take a while to get the ball rolling?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could put a finger on it. Generalizing it, if you look at the past seasons, the defense is there, like even look at the UNI, like we hold them to, low points, low scoring. The special teams are there. It's usually the offense that usually takes a long time to get going. So really don't know exactly what it is, minus the Arizona. Every time it seems like we go out to Arizona, it doesn't turn out well for us. But, the defense is usually solid. The special teams is solid. It's just the offense. It takes us a few weeks to kind of start gelling.
Yeah. And I'm fine with this not scheduling a big time team the first 2-3 games of the year because we're not that program. Like that's just not how we roll. And I have, fans from different schools all the time are like, why don't you guys ever play any of those tough early season games? And my response is, whether it's accurate or not, this is what I say, is that we're a developmental program. So, we're not always able to get those 4 and 5 star guys. And, we need to take time to get our feet wet, develop, and get the guys out on the field and get those reps in. And yeah, we'll definitely schedule you week 12, but week 1, 2, or 3, yeah, probably not. It's not really going to fit our game plan.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. It's like, once, we will get some like 4 star, maybe 5 star athletes. I know like my class, we were one of the highest touted classes, at Iowa, but, unfortunately one reason or the other, we weren't able to keep people. So I think that's a challenge. And, what's really kind of blow my mind is, I think I heard this from another interview was, the folks that we bring in, the 2 stars, 3 stars, they eventually get to the 4 star, 5 star level when they're a junior, when they're a senior. And that's true. I mean, our development program with Coach Doyle, Ferentz, and then the coaching staff, they really do develop people, and they develop them very well. And it's, we really believe in the next man in. But, when it comes to like those 5 star people, I remember like, I was trying to try to recruit people from Ohio. Chris Rawl and I, we were one of the first like people to leave Ohio and those surrounding schools, like the Michigan schools, Ohio States, the Penn States, to come out to Iowa, that we were trying to get more people out there. And like, we bring up some athletes, like, hey, like, so-and-so, I think we could get them to come to Iowa. And they're like, well, they got an offer from Ohio State and Penn State. It's like, so what? Let's try to get them over here. So it's just like, I hope like it doesn't get to a complex that like all we want to do is develop people. Like, we should be going after those 4 star and 5 star athletes every single year because we deserve it. We have the coaching staff, we have the record, we have so many stats. Like I think, when I left my senior year, we were number 2 in the Big Ten in producing NFL players, and not anybody knows that. You tell that to anybody, they wouldn't believe you. But that's just the stats, and that's just reality. So just got to like sell ourselves more, I think.
That's funny that you said that, because that's exactly what Marvin McNutt said. He said the same exact thing, that, he's like, I feel like his sentiment was, I feel like we expect to be an 8 wins, 8 win a year team, 9 win a year, team. And we're not putting the effort into getting these top tier guys because we don't feel like we can get them. And he's like, if you don't feel like you can get them, you're not going to get them. And there's no reason, like you said, and like Marvin said, why we couldn't get those guys, as long as they fit the character and they can, assimilate to the culture at the University of Iowa, which I don't know why they couldn't. It's odd to me that we wouldn't go after those guys. I've even heard Kirk say multiple times, and one time in particular when we got AJ was, he was like, well, we usually don't have a chance with guys like that, but with his dad playing here, we knew he had ties to the program and we knew he had a chance. It's like, you're not going to approach a game like that. Why would you approach recruiting like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't get it. And, I think the tide's changing for the good. We got the stadium, we got the fans, we got the record, we got the data. Like, we just got to pull the trigger on some of these people.
Yeah, exactly. In my opinion, I'm biased as hell, but it's one of the best programs in the country. I
Absolutely.
think we need to realize that it's one of the best programs in the country as staff and as fans. And like, Marvin McNutt said, I thought this was beautiful. He's like, we don't be afraid to expect national championships here. If you don't expect it, it's not ever going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and like the 8-5 thing, like I 100% agree with that. Like, man, like I remember my first year at Iowa, we had a great team. Like, we had Greenway, we had Hinkle, Solomon, Tate. I mean, just go down the list. Like we had a team. But the year didn't go as well as we expected. I think we lost the Big Ten title by 2 plays. There was a few drops against Michigan. And then I think, the onside kick at Northwestern. And I just remember we lost like 4 games or something. And, everybody felt like they were kind of like gravy and it was good. Like we went to the Outback Bowl playing against Florida and like it was close and that was good. And I was like, dude, I came from a high school that we went, 29-1. Like I'm not used to losing like, 4 games in 1 year. Like what the heck is this? And then I think, the coaches did a good job of building a new culture, building the culture of people that just hungry to win. They're not happy. Even our 2009 season, like I'm sure it keeps some people up at night, like, that we should have went to the national championship, Shonn Greene or not. Like, we had 2 stellar running backs. We had a best offensive line. Our offensive skills were there. We went through any adversity you can think of in that season, and we just found a way. But again, like I think we changed the culture of, not accepting those 8-win seasons. Yeah. So I think things are changing for the better for sure.
No, I agree too, and I feel like we're really starting to take swings at some higher end recruits too, and going after more high profile guys. And the thing that sucks is like Iowa fans and a lot of other people like to say, "Oh, stars don't matter." Well, in the big picture, they do, because the Alabamas of the world, the Clemsons, the Notre Dames, the teams that are finishing at the top every year, at Georgia's always have the top recruiting classes every year. We just do amazing top tier job at getting those 2 or 3 star guys that are going to work hard and getting the most out of them. But just think, if we did that with a lot of 4 and 5 star guys, how damn good they could be and how great we could be.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, man. Like I love the quote that we had in the locker room. It says hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But it's like, dang, why don't we just get talent that works hard,
Yeah.
So we're getting there though. I think it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah. And I do think that we have one of the greatest coaches and one of the greatest coaching staffs and greatest programs in the country. But, like Marvin said too, we're just missing 1 or 2 small things. And it seems like that we're starting to kind of figure that out. And I really feel like that there's great things on the horizon, and we're definitely on the upward trajectory. So speaking of things going in the right direction, I want to talk to you about the 2009 season against Michigan State, that last second drive that we had with Stanzi to McNutt. What a lot of people don't talk about is before that happened, there's the guy that I'm looking at right now that had a lot of responsibility for keeping that drive alive and keeping it going. I believe he caught a pass on 3rd and 8 that kept things going. Walk us through that final drive in that game and what was so difficult about getting things going offensively.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those classic games that, the offense, like we had our chances. There was a lot of like wide open opportunities that we just didn't connect on. Some of our running game wasn't going as well as we expected. We had a great game plan. Like, Michigan State, their DBs, they had like the weirdest technique ever. They would do like a wide receiver stance. They play in the inside. It was really funky. And we were literally chopping them up. We just weren't connecting on some passes and some of our running plays. But with that all said, like, we just had all the confidence in the world. A lot of it contributed not only to like the type of people that we've combed, the type of people that we recruited, the type of people in the huddle, but also like with Rick Stanzi, like, I think Rick was able to get a lot of people behind him. And, so funny, like I'm going to do a little plug, like, after my playing days, I did a little stunt devil action in this movie called Draft Day. It's this Kevin Costner film. And,
really?
Yeah. And I played a Wisconsin quarterback, which, is probably, highly frowned upon, but it was a good time. But anyways, like in the movie, they were talking about how Joe Montana, in the Super Bowl against the Bengals, like, they're down, they have to do this like 90-yard drive, and he's just like cool, calm, collect. He's talking about celebrities in the stands. That was like our huddle. Like, that's what it reminded me of. Is like we're in the huddle. Nobody's nervous. Nobody's scared. Like nobody's like quiet because they're nervous or like they don't want to mess up. We're throwing out ideas of what we should do. Like we were like cool, calm, and collected that whole time. And I think that's why when you look at the drive, I caught a ball, Drell caught a ball, Tony caught a ball, Marvin, had the game winner. Like we we were like, hey, we got this. Like, it's our bad that we're even at this point, but hey, we'll take care of it type of thing. And I think that was kind of like the mentality every single game. So that was a special time. The last play, man, I hear about a lot. The Marvin slant, man, is awesome. But man, I was wide open. And I give him crap because he caught it and then he stepped on my foot and I was like gimping for the rest of the time. And then I ran over to the stands and it was glow stick night. And I was like doing the what is it called? Generation X, like the suck it.
Degeneration X.
Yeah. And I did that to the student section and they're all throwing their glow sticks at us. So it was a great time. And
that's awesome.
Definitely a memorable experience for sure.
I had not heard about that. So you got up in the stands at Michigan State and did the DX suck it with the glow sticks. That's freaking cool. Well, I bet they were saying
I was getting pelted by those things. Those things hurt.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I bet you were getting some really nice things said to you too when you were doing that.
Michigan State was so corny. I don't know if I should be hating on them, but you get out of the locker room, they have this like neon yellow smiley face. Then you go out to the stadium, the band has their back turned to you. The student section has the newspapers out. You're like, dude, are we at a high school game or what? But I guess just the fact that we're thinking about all these different like little tricks, I guess maybe it worked, but now we got them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never been to a college that did that, or even a Division I school for that matter. I remember in high school that stuff kind of happened, but that's interesting. I did not know that. I really want to know from you, one of the greatest Hawkeyes of all time and one of the greatest people, Tyler Sash, that's no longer with us. You were able to know him and play with him. What kind of guy was Tyler?
Man, Tyler was a stand-up guy. I mean, he was probably one of the best humans, one of my favorite Hawkeyes. He was one of my roommates, during the summer. And I mean, he was like my little brother. I know a lot of people probably say that, but we always used to joke, like, his initials were TJS, mine were TJS. Like we grew up in similar families, like Christian homes. We had the same values. Like we hardly ever cuss, which I think, as I get older, I'm kind of expanding my vocabulary, I guess I would say. But he was just like a solid, good teammate. And, everything wasn't like perfect for him at Iowa. Like, he had a lot of competition. He had Jordan Bernstein, on his heels. He had, some upperclassmen. Like, I remember like one time he was, thinking about like transferring or leaving. And I just like, dude, you can't, man. Like, you're going to be the best, defensive player at Iowa history. And, we're talking and, we're on Facebook and, I work at Facebook now. So it's, I'll do a little plug there, but like, man, I remember like one of the best moments, with Tyler, and I think it was his freshman year, was during practice. I do a little 5-yard drive route, and I've never got hit so hard in my life because Tyler just came up and just lit me up. And I just remember like standing up, hitting him on the helmet. I'm like, dude, like that's what you needed. You needed that, that moment. It was got the ooh-ah thing. Like a snot bubble came out of my nose. Like it was kind of embarrassing for an upperclassman, but the dude got me. But man, Tyler was, again, like my favorite, probably like one of my favorite Hawkeyes, favorite family. The family was very close to mine, the parents. And, man, like that was really heartbreaking each year. I mean, I'll talk to a few of our teammates, that were really close with them. And I mean, it's tough losing somebody like Tyler.
Yeah. Yeah. And he really embodied what it was to be a Hawkeye, just the grit and the determination and the emotion that he played with. And I still remember that one play, I believe it was against Michigan State, where he caught that interception and then flipped it back to Micah and he took off with it. It was like, that could have ended real bad flipping that back, but man, it was just like, that was one of the most beautiful plays I've ever seen in my life. It was awesome.
Tyler's like one of those gym class heroes, man. And what I mean by that, like any sport you put in front of him, he's going to be good at. Him and Tony Miyake, probably like the best gym class people. You could like literally get the professional bocce ball player in the world and they could probably compete with them. Just like stellar athletes.
No, we're lucky to have guys like that be a part of the program, and he'll be missed forever. So,
oh man, I remember he was a huge Hawk fan. Like, okay, another quick story. So, like, I ran track at Iowa, and I did high jump, and we were at the Drake relays, and there's this guy named Tyler Sash, just committed to Iowa, and he was a huge fan. Like, he came up, he was talking to me. He's like, "Hey man, I gotta go to race. You want to watch?" I went and watched his race. And then, he killed it. Then he came back to the stands and went talk to me versus like talking to his parents. And then like, I got like a final check-in for high jump. Like I almost missed like the whole reason why I went to Drake. So I ran over there. They luckily let me in, and then I ended up not even clearing the opening bar because I didn't get the stretch, I didn't get the practice, I didn't do anything that. But it was worth it, man. It was cool to see Tyler do so well in that meet.
Oh, that's a cool story, man. That's the Drake relays are awesome. I used to,
so cool.
Yeah, my dad coached track and cross country for a really long time. And so as a little kid, I'd sit there with my sunflower seeds and sit in the stands all day. And I got to watch like guys like Michael Johnson run there. And there was just, it was really cool. It's kind of a rite of passage as a kid growing up in Des Moines. You need to go sit. Yeah, I'm from Des Moines. So you got to sit for, a whole entire day or two at the Drake relays. It's pretty cool. I froze my ass off every time we went, but it was a lot of fun. Awesome. One of the other guys that you got to play with that was just insanely talented, one of the best wide receivers that we've ever had, just complete natural talent, Darrell Johnson Culianos, DJK. What was it like playing with that guy? Because he says, he's like, I'm not the guy that asks to get all this attention. I'm just, really, I could have gone to Ohio State or wherever, but I came here and, it's not my fault. I get all this attention. Everyone kind of follows me around and wants to talk to me. And he really brought on from, in retrospect, a little bit of negative publicity toward him. And he said that with the attention that he got, he felt like he was punished by the coaching staff and not treated properly. What were your thoughts on DJK and his time at Iowa, getting to play with him? Because if anything, the dude was just insanely talented.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, DJ was definitely he was a great teammate. Like, unique character. I mean, he at the end of the day, he was always going to be going to bat for his teammates, everything. I think for the difference between DJK and myself, like we were just two different people. Like, I was very quiet. I came into Iowa with a lot of accolades. I had some of those stars behind me. But unfortunately, my first practice at Iowa, I tore my thumb, and before that I had reconstructive surgery on my left hand. Then I was having hamstring injuries, and so literally a lot of I'm very happy with how my success came at Iowa, but it probably didn't pan out what I expected and other people expected. So sorry, I'm gonna talk about myself, but I'll wrap it back to Darrell.
That's why we're interviewing you, man. It's all good.
Yeah. So here's the thing is Darrell came into a class with Dominique Douglas, Anthony Bowman, James Cleveland, and Darrell, and Paul Cheney, fast Paul Cheney, he's our Trenton Holiday. And, some of those players weren't able to make it at Iowa. And, Darrell stepped up. He did a good job. Iowa, we talk about next man in, and Darrell did that. So Darrell and I were just completely different type of people, the way we operated, the way we followed instructions, stuff like that. He really kind of had this TO mentality, and not to bash him or anything, but it's just coming from me, hey man, you got to just do things right. You can't show up late. You can't do X, Y, Z. I was trying to almost take him as under my wing as a brother, but he just did his own thing. And, he was a sophomore, he was a junior, he was a senior, acting like a TO. And it's hey man, we all of us, we haven't made it. Coach Joy used to talk about that. None of you guys have made it. He would say that the people that were going to be potentially first round draft picks, we're not there yet, it hasn't happened yet type of thing. And it was just one of those things, we just had to keep kind of reminding him. But, when it came to the time of the game, we knew he was there. He was going to play. He wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the fastest, but he had one of the best visions. I don't know if it was his soccer background or what, but he just naturally had the vision to find holes in everything. Mm-hmm. So he's naturally gifted, but it's just some of the soft skills, I guess, and just being able to be a part of the program versus trying to do it on your own type of thing.
This is probably not true, but I got to ask you that he said that during practice one time that Doyle put a paper bag on his head and made him walk around the practice field. Do you remember that ever happening?
Man, I know that he's been I think a lot of players, we've been disciplined in one way or the other. I was late one time to a lifting thing, which you don't do. That's a no-no. Iowa, we take a lot of pride in If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time type of thing. And, I showed up late, and, Coach Joel gave me a 2x4 to push across the weight room, down and back 50 times. That was a lesson learned. I didn't feel like I was getting picked on. It was just more of like a disciplinary thing. Like, hey, like you effed up. This is what we do. We push the 2x4 across the floor because that's what you are for showing up late type of thing. I don't remember what the situation was or anything. It's been 10, 11 years, but one thing or the other, we have very simple rules like wearing team issued gear. We are a team, be unified. Mm-hmm. When you come into the office, come presentable. Like, this is a business. This isn't like a gym. Yeah. Things like that. And, they're very simple, basic things. And it's just more to install like, this operational rigor of, doing things right, doing things in order, doing things professionally. And some people that didn't get it, I mean, they had to pay for it somehow. And, the thing about it, like, I pushed a 2x4 across the floor. I had to push a 4-wheeler because I wasn't perfect. I tried to be, but I wasn't perfect. And, I had to do a lot of like my disciplinary stuff as we all did. But, it's part of the process, of being a man. Coach Parker used to say, boys do what they want to do and men do what they have to do. Mm-hmm. And, those type of disciplinary things really kind of like ingrain in our brains that, hey, I got these brand new, Nike, shorts that are purple and awesome, but, we're not wearing Northwestern colors in the weight room. Put your Iowa shorts on that are from 1995. Maybe Bob Sanders wore them, right? Like, they're good luck type of thing. Yeah. So I don't know, like, I don't remember that exact story, but, again, like, Iowa, like, we try to do things, I don't even know what the term, but
like a pro,
like a freaking pro. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's why NFL teams want Hawkeyes, because when they come in, they transition seamlessly. They know how to show up on time, do things the right way. They're respectful to their coaches, and I think that's why, Kirk's been able to create such an NFL factory there, is because, they've lived it for all that time. And like, they say all the time, it's the Iowa way, that's the right. Iowa way. That's how we do it. And, there's a vision for that. It's not just to, be a prick and, make you fall in line just because, they feel like it. There's a mission behind it, and they're trying to make you, make you better people, better players, and get you ready for, if the next level is a possibility, get you prepped for that. How difficult was it balancing track and football at the same time?
It wasn't too bad, to be honest. When Coach Herb was at the time, and I brought it up to him, like, hey, like, the track coach, they approached me, they asked me if I wanted to, they originally approached me to do decathlon, and, Coach Herb thought that wasn't be in the best interest. That's going to be a lot of time. So I was like, hey, what about high jump? He's like, all right, you could do that as long as you're placing, like, as long as you're scoring points for the team. So, high jump is very like low intensive in the manner of like time and, how much practice you actually do. Cause, jumping does a lot of wear and tear on your body. So, I mean, shoot, I did the Drake relays, and then I would go to the Big Ten championship. I would do the last chance meet, and then I'd go to the Big Ten championship. So okay. It was pretty lightweight. And, I knew the reason why I was at Iowa was for football. This was just more of like, hey, keep Trey out of trouble, keep Trey out of downtown with Pat, stuff like that. It was awesome. Like my first year on the track team, I went to this last chance meet just to kind of dust the rust off. And then the next week, we were in the Big Ten championship at Indiana, and I got third place. So that was pretty cool. I had this weird obsession with like beating people without practicing. So it just like, it kept like, kind of playing to my, strengths. And then like, unfortunately my junior year, I had to stop jumping because I started having like really bad foot pain. I had this like nickname Skip, because if you would watch film my junior and senior year, I couldn't like decelerate at all. Like I would have to skip to slow down because I just had this like unbearable pain in my foot. Oh. And then, I signed with the Texans, things are going well. I go in the weight room. I'm like, hey man, when I was at Iowa, I used to get cortisone shots and I used to get like a steroid pill. And, is there anything you guys could do? And they're like, yeah, let's take a look at it first. And they ran the test like, hey man, like how long has this been going on? I'm like, for about 2 years. And they're like, yeah, like your band is like a third of what it's supposed to be. So they ended up putting me in a cast for like 6 weeks, just like, hey, like you can't make this thing bigger, but maybe like scar tissue and stuff will like make it, tighter. And so then we took it out of the cast. I was, back to practice, and then it just popped on me. So I had to get surgery and call it a day. But, it could have been, I don't remember like a specific like game or anything. It was just more of I think wear and tear. Maybe track, it was my jumping foot. Maybe that had to play a little factor into it.
Tell us about your transition to the Houston Texans and playing in the NFL. What was that transition like? And I mean, it had to have been a pretty cool thing. And what was the dumbest thing you bought when you first got some of that NFL money?
Man, I'll tell you right now, I didn't buy anything. I had a really great mentor. Like Coach Campbell was awesome. He told all the guys, so like he's like, hey, like I don't want anybody in this room that doesn't want to be in the NFL. And he's like, when you guys make it to the NFL, live like you're poor. So, when I started out with Houston, all the rookies, we got put into a hotel, and they're like, hey, like, you can stay in this hotel all the way until the beginning of the season. But slowly, like once we got through OTAs and camp, like a lot of the rookies started getting their own places. Some were buying like, they would buy what was the car? Like a Camaro, like a red Camaro. And then they would get a blue one too. Like they were buying 2 cars at a time.
Wow.
And dude, I stayed in the hotel all the way until they kicked me out. And when they kicked me out, I just moved across the street. I went down the street to a Toys R Us. I picked up a bike for $110, and I splurged another $20. Let them put it together, type of thing.
Okay.
And I saved everything. Even the apartment I got for the year. I think I got like a 60% discount, so it was like $1,200 a month, and I was paying $600. I was just saving everything that I could, which really kind of helped me to get a good start to life.
That's smart. Most people don't do that. Once you get there, they feel like they made it. But that's a really smart approach that most guys don't do. Did any of those guys give you crap rolling in a bike or anything like that for meetings or anything?
No, not at all. I mean, so Steve McNair, he had this like really nice Jeep, and I honestly didn't know who. I knew Steve McNair was like the owner, but I didn't really know him or like see his face or anything. And he used to like see me like walk from the stadium to the hotel, and sometimes bike, and he'd be like, hey man, do you want to ride? I'm like, sure. So I just saw somebody that worked in the office. So the players would be like, hey, like Trey, like how do you know Steve? Like blah blah blah. And I was like, who's Steve? And like the owner. I'm like, oh shoot. So I never really saw him again, but that was quite a cool experience. But yeah, nobody really gave me crap. Like, and also like not only like with Coach Campbell, but just like my history of injuries. Like, man, I think I went in the knife at least 4 or 5 times at Iowa. I was just like, hey man, like it's already called not for long.
Yeah.
NFL. But with my history, it's like, dude, like my time is always ticking. So I'm just gonna enjoy the ride when I can, and then save as much as I can.
Over your time at Iowa, tell us something like the regular fan. We always like to ask guys this. The regular fan would not know, like a really funny, maybe interesting or wild story that you'll just be about your day working away at Facebook on, whether it be those algorithms or whatever. Well, you're gonna have to tell us about what you do at Facebook, because I think that's super interesting. But tell us about a story that a lot of fans wouldn't know, something that maybe happened in the locker room, practice field, anything like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you did ask me that question. I never got around to it. And, sorry, I ramble.
That's okay.
But yeah, so like, when I got done with playing football, I did medical sales. It's funny because I got to tell the doctors that, I sell the instruments that fix me, like the plates, the screws, and all that stuff. But then I got poached to do recruiting. And I thought that was really cool because like when I would sit at practice at Iowa, I would always think like, man, what do I want to do after football? And, Coach Johnson, before him and I got in like a little, battle on the sideline one time, he did like recruiting for athletes, like, so he was trying to pull people from Michigan, from Ohio State, and so on to go to Iowa. I was like, dang, that's really cool. So cut a long story short, I got into the world of tech recruiting. So I'm a recruiting manager at Facebook. So now instead of like, people wearing the Ohio State jersey, Michigan jersey, whatever, like, I'm trying to pull people from Google, from Microsoft, and say, hey, come to Facebook. But I think the funny story is like, so like, I had Rick Stanzi, and I was his host when he came on his fish visit to Iowa. And dude, I just remember him like, dude, I never really drank in college until like my last 2 years. I was a very straight arrow. And then, I met Rick Stanzian, and, the guy was, he had long hair. You like smoke a cigarette. And I was like, I actually like pawned him off on like, we had a quarterback named Blake Zendella at the time. I'm like, hey man, like you just gotta take this guy. I'm out of here. So, even though I'm like a recruiting manager now, like probably wasn't the best recruiting person at Iowa, because potentially, like, imagine if we lost Rick, right? And then the next year I was the host for Colin Sandeman, and it was like my 21st birthday. Colin's a Bettendorf guy, so naturally, when I'm going to pick him up, I'm going to Pat Anger's house to pick him up and like show him a good time at Iowa. Little do I know, like, Pat's already showing him a good time. So like, everybody's having a good time. Like it's Pat's friends and like, Jamie Murphy and Colin. And I don't know, man, things got a little wild. Like, some people got like little poked they had these like little like medieval knives at their place. Like, I mean, it's Pat, like shouldn't really shock you, but like,
no.
Someone got like a little slice on their hand. So then I'm taping it up with duct tape. And then 30 minutes later, somebody else gets sliced on their hand. So I'm typing, so then like Colin's probably like, what the heck is going on? There's two guys with duct tape on their hand bleeding out. We're going downtown right now. So I probably, even though I'm recruiting now, I probably wasn't the best host, but that was pretty cool. And then trying to think of some other stories, but I think those were pretty cool. Yeah.
What kind of guy was Pat Anger? Because he seems like he's a blast.
Yeah, Pat's awesome, man. Like, if there was like one person, like if you had like an action figure that had that each program had to like develop and sell at like Walmart, Pat would be our Iowa one. You press the button and he speaks and he just says his sayings. But I mean, I probably shouldn't share this, but again, you put this on me. Like we're in the locker room and, Pat used to, before showers, after showers, we're all like kind of in towels and stuff. You'd, tap people in the butt to see if they got excited. He's a strange dude, but man, that's why we love him.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I think I lost Pat's respect at the Iowa Beef Days. It was me, Alex Kanellis and Pat. And Alex Kanellis, I don't know if you guys remember him. Like, he was like an Iowa legend in high school, wrestler and everything. He was probably the best athlete I've ever met in my life. It was really unfortunate that we lost him, especially, we talked about that 2005 recruiting class. But anyways, we went to the Iowa Beef Days and they signed us all up for like the arm wrestling competition. So like, Alex Kanellis is in the super heavyweight division, crushes it, gets first place. Pat's in the heavyweight, he gets first place. They put me in the middle class and I get freaking second place. So I think I lost both of their respects that day. But in my defense, like the middle class, you could probably humble me on this, but it stopped at like 200 pounds. And the guy that, I arm wrestled was at 210, but because it was his program, he was able to go in the middle class. And the dude,
weak.
Yeah, later find out not only is he running this program, but he was the Iowa high school state champion arm wrestler. Like, I was like, I'm from Cleveland. Like, we don't have arm wrestling state championships. Like, this is, I got gypped on this thing. But I got smoked, man. I think like I strained my elbow on that freaking machine that I couldn't like lift the next week. So not only did I not get a trophy, I got a little like participation ribbon. I lost Pat's respect, and I couldn't lift the next week.
That's not cool. You can't lose respect over that. That's not fair at all. That's a fixed competition. I didn't know that Iowa had high school wrestling. I grew up in Iowa. I've never even heard of that. That's crazy.
Allegedly. I mean, maybe it's an AAU thing, but what I heard, and maybe people were just telling me that to make me feel better, but allegedly.
I think so. I think they're full of shit. I've never heard of that in my life. That sounds like super redneck. I can see you guys like in cut off flannel shirts, arm wrestling like at a table. Like, I don't think so. Somebody let me know if I'm wrong on that, but I've never heard of Iowa high school like arm wrestling. Like that's.
I'll look it up. But
yeah, I know. As soon as we're done.
Bless the hearts of Iowans for making me feel better. But yeah, that's what I was told, and I'm sticking to it.
I got your back on that one, man. That sounds like a fixed competition. So, so you work at Facebook. It's got to be pretty cool. Do you work from home then? Is that where you're able to move? Or are you moving to be closer to work? What all do you do there, and what's it like working for Facebook?
It's awesome, man. Like, this tech world was all new to me. Like, I was in medical sales, just like what it seems like a lot of, athletes get into after they're done playing. And, because it fits our personality, like sales, like competition and, being top producer and, stuff like that. And, I got approached by Google, and again, like, I'm from Cleveland. I went to school in Iowa. Like, when they say Google, I'm like, the search engine, like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm in medical sales, and, I just got to learn more about the technology, the landscape, the competitiveness, like the perks, like, they feed us breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that was good enough for me. So I took the leap of faith to move down to Austin, Texas, and I worked for Google for like 3 years, become a manager there, and then made the move to Facebook. But I mean, it's awesome, man. It's just like great people. They feed us very well. Especially, with the news of having a baby, like they do a good job of helping support folks, their employees on growing their families. So, and just the opportunity, like, with the pandemic, working from home, like Facebook, they're like pivoting to like a workforce that works from home. So this gives us an opportunity to move out to Orange County, California, and, be close to Amanda's family. It's just so we have more support.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great gig, man. Sounds like things are going well for Trey.
Yeah, man, life is good, man. I'm super happy, man. It's almost like, man, you could like beat yourself up too. It's like things are going so well that you're just like you could play into the card of like something bad's about to happen. So
don't think like that.
Just trying to enjoy the ride as I can, man.
You work hard and do the right things. Good things come to good people. So, I mean, you got apparently, I don't know what she looks like, but a smoking hot wife that's going to win our 2022 hottest wife of the year for former Iowa players. So you're gonna have to send us a picture, because we're gonna have to put it on our social media, because people are gonna be asking like, okay, what's Trey's wife look like now? Or so we're gonna need to know. You got a beautiful baby on the way. You got an awesome job. You're going to move to Southern California, one of the most beautiful places to live in the country. Like, amen, brother.
Yeah, man, I'm happy, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're super happy for you. And I'm going to let you get going and get after some of those beers. We've kept you long enough. I love talking to you, man. I could talk to you all night. This has been a lot of fun. And you're looking like you're needing another beer, so I don't want to get you all like dehydrated or anything like that.
Right? I need some water right now.
Gotta get some Burskies in the system, but you just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for all your hard work and your time at Iowa and all the great memories that you provided for all the Hawkeye fans out there with your amazing wide receiver play and representing the program in such a stand-up fashion. And it's great to see you doing so well right now. I know Iowa fans love to see guys that did so much for the program be happy and succeed at the next level of life, and you're clearly doing that right now.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, man, it was, things are going well, but the time at Iowa, it's really hard to compare. And, the baby getting married, like that's up there, but, before all that, it's a special program. It's a special bond you have with your teammates. And I was fortunate to have teammates on football and track. And it was just such a special time. It was like 4.5 years of just freaking living in an oasis.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I see you got your game worn jersey back there on the wall. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And you're All-American.
Orange Bowl one, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's so cool. Like, yeah, when you're a senior, they'll frame you a jersey and gift it to you. Cause like these things are not cheap, man. Like I got the All-American one framed. It was like $600, and it's like, dang, Iowa. they stepped up and they gave us a great senior gift.
I was talking to Marvin about this earlier, not to keep bringing him up, but he was like, he had his pro jerseys hanging in his office. He's like, yeah, I'm about to get these framed. And I said, word of advice, man, don't get it done professionally. Go to Hobby Lobby, buy the $40 frame and spend $1.50 on the pins, and it looks almost as good. And you're going to spend a fraction of the price, because I got a whole wall of jerseys over here that I've done, and I used to get the professional ones done. And finally, I'm like, I can't spend $500 on a freaking jersey to get framed every time I get one. So I went the cheap route, and I'm glad I did because I think it looks just about as good.
Oh, probably, yeah. But yeah, man, like, yeah, don't feel bad about bringing up Marvin. Like, I wish, we've been on this for an hour. I wish I was just talking about Marvin the whole time.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's like one of the
Great
best interviews that we've ever had. Like, he's so awesome. Maybe with some time I can get him on here with you. We can talk about that 09 season a little bit. And
yeah, we should get the whole receiving crew, man. We'll just do a big Zoom call.
We can have a wife off. You bring yours in, we'll bring his in, and let's see who wins.
Hey, she'll be down.
All right, cool, man. We'd love to meet her. So awesome. Super happy for you, man. And good luck with the move. And hope everyone's safe getting over there to California. And good luck with the baby. And just make sure you start getting him or her ready to be a Hawkeye in the future.
Heck yeah, man.
All right, man. We always end it with the Go Hawks. All right.
All right. Go Hawks.
All right. Go Hawks. See you, Trey.
See you, man. Take care.